in New York, there's added protections, and that's why it's important to have a lawyer, because you want to know what you're buying, or you want to know that the person selling it to you has a right to sell it.
Hey folks, Cameron Stewart here with eXp Realty out of Rome, New York, serving you right here in the Mohawk Valley. I'm joined again today by Colin LaReaux from Goldbass and LaReaux Attorneys at Law in downtown Utica. What's going on, Colin?
Same old, Cameron. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again.
My pleasure, for sure. Wouldn't have it any other way. Guys, we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk a little bit more about closing on a home here in the Mohawk Valley, okay? Colin, how long does it take to close on a home here in the Mohawk Valley?
Lawyer's favorite response here. Well, it depends, right? It depends on a lot of factors. Depends on the number of players involved, right? So short as you might expect could be under 30 days. And that's where we're talking a cash transaction. We know the buyer has the cash sitting in their account. They can put it into escrow, meaning it's held in an account that we can see and we know where it is, ready to transfer it. And the seller has the abstracted title, which is the history of the home, who has owned it, what liens are on there. We're able to update that and get it moving quickly, right? So if we have those two things, if we have all the tax bills and we can figure out what's owed, and if there's no liens or anything like that on it, we have the money ready to go. We don't have to worry about banks or their due diligence, which takes a long time. We can get it done, generally, you could say under 30 days. That's the rare occasion because, again, there could be a lot of issues, but that's a minimum, I would say.
So let's say I'm looking to sell my house, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that as a seller, you have a little bit more ability to help the process out a little quicker. Okay, so if I'm a seller and I'm looking to sell my house, what can I have ready, or what can I do to expedite the closing process potentially?
Certainly. So you're in contract. You got the sale. You got the document. The buyer signed on the dotted line saying he's going to pay X amount of money. You're going to want to get to your attorney the most recent paid tax bills, receipts, even the last year or two. You're going to want to show any improvements you've made to the home, and you're going to want to get your abstracted title, which is this sometimes ancient looking document. It can go back years, and what that is, it's a title history, right? You flip through and it shows who owned it, when they transferred it. It might go back to 1900 if the house is that old. The sooner we get that, we can get it to a title company who updates it, and they provide anything that's happened since you've owned it. And this includes any possible liens that you put on it, any new mortgages, any HELOCs, home equity line of credits, any home equity loans. Once we have that back, we can get that to the buyer's attorney. Buyer's attorney can take all the information, make sure it looks good on their end. If they have a lender, that'd be the bank looks at it, makes sure everything looks good. And then when everybody has agreed that the seller has provided good and marketable title, they are hopefully ready to close, assuming the buyer's finances have lined up. So yeah, the first and fastest way you can do anything if you're a seller is to collect all of your tax documents, make sure everything's paid in full, get those receipts to your attorney, and get them that abstracted title so it can be redated.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks. Now, someone's watching this right now and they're thinking to themselves, well, I bought a house in South Carolina, back in 2005, and it took 4 days to close. Can you address the differences here in the state of New York and maybe why it takes a little longer to close? And then finally, does that provide us here in New York added protections? Loaded question. Sorry about that.
So, South Carolina, I went once for a wedding. We got a traffic ticket. Great wedding. Other than that, I don't know much about the place, right? I don't know how things have been transferred down there, but up here in New York, there are restrictions, right? You can't just say, hey, Cameron, you want to buy my house? Here, sign on the line, it's yours. Because Cameron, you wouldn't know if it actually was mine to sell, right? Things have to be recorded in a county clerk's office. So in New York, there's added protections, and that's why it's important to have a lawyer, because you want to know what you're buying, or you want to know that the person selling it to you has a right to sell it. You would not want to buy a house that somebody else has a half interest in, and they're entitled to half of the money, but you gave it to someone else. So there's added protections in New York. We got property taxes. We got to make sure those are paid. We got water bills. There's all types of things that can happen. Mechanics liens. You never quite know what's on the history of a house until you get a look at that abstracted title.
Awesome. All right. So, Colin, take a moment to tell people how to get in contact with you, because there's some people right now that are like, I'm ready to sell my house. This is great information. How do they contact you?
Sure. My name, Colin LaReaux, right? My email address, Colin at goldbasslaw, GOLDBAS law.com. Phone number 315-724-2248. And we're in the Adirondack Bank building in downtown Utica. We're on the web, right? Goldbasslaw.com. You can find us on Facebook or Google, any of those search mechanisms. And Cameron, while we're talking about the issue of timeliness, and I mentioned a minimum of 30 days, right?
Mhm.
Certainly keep in mind it is a minimum. I would expect in a general transaction, in my experience, you're looking at 60 to 90 days, again, because most involve banks, and the bank has to do their due diligence. They got to line up the financing, make sure the buyers has the money or still has the job and can pay back on that mortgage. So a minimum of 30, I'd expect between 60 and 90.
Awesome. Well, great information as always, Colin. Once again, I appreciate you joining me today. Folks, this is Cameron Stewart with eXp Realty right out of Rome. Colin LaReaux joining me today, giving his expert advice on all things closing real estate transactions. Thanks, Colin. And folks, until next time, we look forward to speaking with you.
Thanks again, Cameron.